Hello again, Mark.
Hello.
How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Yes, I'm very good, thank you. Aren't we polite? That's lovely.
Very,
It's a
aren't
good
we? Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we're talking about what I believe are probably the three most important words in personal estate agency.
Okay.
And that would be the three L's: leads, listings, and leverage.
Yes.
So why? Because, I mean, every estate agent wants more listings, right?
Yes.
Every estate agent wants more income,
Yes.
obviously, and every estate agent wants more freedom in their business, and obviously that comes through the leverage. So let's get into that then. So from your perspective, why are these three, leads, listings and leverage, why are they so interconnected, do you think?
Well, because one powers the other. That's why, because they are actually connected.
Mm-hmm.
But because they power what people want, and that's choice.
Yeah.
You know, we can all get consumed with, I want more money, I want more money, I want more money. I'd like more money.
Yeah, me too.
But without getting too deep, it's not always about the overall money. It's about the life that you create and the life that you individually want, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
And that comes from choice to then have freedom and flexibility to determine your own future, determine what you do today and determine what you do tomorrow to create memories. That's what we do it for. And we do it for enjoyment as well. So it's those three things in personal agency. Without those three things, it doesn't work. That's why they're connected.
But do you think that agents can succeed? I think I know the answer just from meeting with so many. But do you think that agents can really succeed if they're only strong at one of the three?
Depends on what the goal was. So it could be it's a relatively small goal, and therefore one of the three would give them enough. So pretty difficult one to give you a defined answer on. But if you're looking to give yourself maximum choice and therefore give you the free, let's say we work more on the freedom part of it.
Yeah.
That.
By the way, I don't think there's a single estate agent that's come into the personal agency model when I've asked them why they're doing this and, you know, what matters most to them, that hasn't said financial freedom.
Yeah. Financial freedom and flexibility, and I know some people say, oh, this model doesn't give that. Correct.
If you don't have leverage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't work the model properly, you'll be employed for the rest of your life. You just won't have a boss telling you what to do. You'll have yourself talking to yourself all day long, thinking, am I doing a great job? And all these challenges around the mental mindset to be able to perform at your best. That's why being part of a network is, in my opinion, is so important, because you've got others to speak to and others to be around. Your environment matters.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it all depends on kind of what the goal is initially, but you certainly can't create the freedom without building leverage, and therefore we're going to say something. Well, I'm going to say something relatively controversial, which is we're labelled as self-employment. I don't like the word self-employment.
No,
sorry, two words. It's not who we are, and I don't think it's who any self-employed agent that wants to create maximum choice should want to be.
Yeah.
It should be that they want to have their own business. They want to be true business owners, and you can't be true business owners without those three things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Period.
No, I agree, absolutely. I think what most agents, and we'll get to it, I'm sure, but of all of the three L's, the leads, listings, leverage, I think probably the one that gets neglected the most is the leverage, but that might be fear, holds them back from letting go, because you cannot go up without giving something up. It's just a fact, and we'll come to that later on. But it's also not knowing how, because leverage comes in many different forms, right? It's not just, leverage, I need an admin, I've got to pay someone a salary, I can't afford to do that yet. Hang on. there's tools out there first that could be great leverage for you. There's systems that you can build and utilise that are great, is great leverage for you. You could be part of a model that does things for you that is leverage, you know. So there's lots of different things that you can look at before you think, I can't afford leverage yet.
Even the advancements in tech and AI, right? These things are
of course.
These things are now here to give you leverage, and you know, we're sitting here today, and there's certain tools out there. I guarantee in 4 weeks' time there'll be another one, and 12 months' time you'll be on the verge of not needing certain people to do certain jobs out there, right? So all these things are coming your way.
Yeah. Why do you think so many agents struggle with lead generation or the consistency of lead generation? Why do you think that is?
Accountability, probably.
I think that's a big part, yeah.
I think setting goals for yourself and sitting down and doing that with someone you trust, who can then hold you account to them, will give you a much better chance to be successful certainly around the lead generation piece. I think the motivation is probably the biggest factor.
Which is crazy when you think about it, right? I've had this conversation with so many agents. When they work for someone else, I mean, especially like, I'll just name drop, I don't care, but I hear a lot about like companies like Foxtons, for example. I've heard horror stories where you're not allowed to sit down. It can't be legal, surely, but they take your chair away and you are not allowed to sit down until you've made a certain number of phone calls or
allegedly,
hit a target.
Allegedly, Mr. Foxton.
Allegedly, I am sorry. But I've heard it from too many people at different times where they didn't have a chance to confer that is the case.
Yeah.
And you would not dream of showing up at work and not, operating in the way that you need, because if you didn't hit the target, you'd be out on your ear. So what is it about when you start working for yourself, in some cases, where you can't motivate yourself to do that?
The motivation gets impacted by the mindset. We've been doing this for 6 or 7 years now.
6, 7.
I was going to do it, but I didn't want to.
Sorry.
I think we might have done it on another
we
podcast,
did.
Claire. I mean, come on, it's something
Stop
new
saying
here.
6, 7 then.
Yeah, come on.
Just say 8, 9.
Well, I always say 6, 7. And a lot of people poo-poo people talking about mindset. And I find that extraordinary. In today's society, mindset is a challenge. Mindset can impact you beyond what we think is possible.
Yeah.
So you've got to have the right mindset. And the problem with motivation, you can have the motivation day one, and if you get a knockback, the mindset's not quite right. And therefore the motivation gets hit a little bit. And each time you get hit a little bit, the motivation battery gets reduced. And fear kicks in. And the fear takes over. And therefore the lead generation begins to drop and drop and drop. And what you need someone to kick you up the backside.
Yep.
You need someone to motivate you to clear that mindset fog, help you, support you, understand it, explain it, and get you going again. And the problem is in personal agency, and in probably in a lot of the independent agencies as well, because they're the business owners and they're not inside a corporate. So I'm not going to big up the corporate world here, but what the corporate structure will do is hold you account.
Yep.
And that's the biggest difference.
They kick your chair away, apparently.
Who is holding you account when you are the business owner? And that's where they struggle in terms of the consistency around lead generation. Also understanding the numbers. So we always talk about pipeline, and if I say the word pipeline, most people listening to this in the agency world will turn around and go, oh yeah, my SSTC pipeline is worth £100,000 right now. Yeah. That's great. What about your lead pipeline? And I go, what do you mean? Well, what's your lead pipeline look like? Oh, well, I had 5 vows last week, and I took on 8 homes last month. No, lead pipeline, not appraisal pipeline. And a lead pipeline to me would be, we did this on an earlier podcast, but out of the data bank you've got, you've created opportunities, right? How many opportunities do you currently have? Opportunities on people coming to the market? Yes. I've got 250. Great. Out of those 250, how many people do you believe will be coming on the market in the next 7 days? 10. Fantastic. How many in the next month? 25. Okay, great. How many in the next 3 months? 75. Now you know your lead pipeline. So motivation gets impacted by understanding the numbers. So if you don't understand the numbers, guess what? Your motivation's going to dip with every single hit you get. However, if you have a hit and then you look at your numbers and you go, it's kind of all right because I think I've got 7 listings coming on next week and I spoke to these leads and in 90 days I think I'll have another X amount of listings coming on. It doesn't mean they all will, but what it does, it keeps the momentum high. It keeps the motivation strong.
Yeah.
So you've got to understand your numbers, your lead pipeline, as much as anything else, because it will get hit. So all those things, mindset, obviously gets hit by not understanding your numbers. Do you even operate a lead pipeline? How many people listening to this podcast right now can actually turn around and read off the numbers that I just made up?
Yeah.
You should know them. I won't name names, but there's some agents inside our model, and I'm gobsmacked by the quality of their opportunity pipeline. I can literally go in and see how much business they believe they're going to write in the next 12 months. How many in the next 30 days. That's a proper business. You would be structured that way if you was in a corporate world. Why do you run away from that structure when you operate as a personal agent?
I don't think it's that people run away. I think it's that they don't know how to set up a system that helps them to do that.
Maybe that's what it is. But for me, you've got to take responsibility for that. It's like no one can own this more than you because you are the business right now. As a personal agent, guess what? That's what it's called. You are the business. So you've got to take responsibility to build the structure, build the systems, build the processes. So you understand all these numbers to be able to keep your lead generation high. Because if I'm motivated and I'm buoyant because of what I've done this week, I might feel good, but can I see it in the numbers? Once I see it in the numbers and I get reminded visually every morning, because I look at the numbers every day and go, that's fueling, that gets me out of bed today.
It's going to motivate you.
It's going to motivate me to get out of bed. But if I'm not looking at those numbers and I don't understand them, I'm going to be laying in bed thinking, could be a bad day
Where's
today.
my next listing coming
Where's
from?
my next listing coming from? I guarantee you it's in your database.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And also, we were talking about this actually on Power Up this morning, where we were talking about, what you're telling yourself. Because even when we're silent, we're still constantly thinking. You definitely are. Sometimes my mind's just completely numb and I'm just staring at the wall, but still I'm telling myself something in those quiet moments, right?
Sure.
And how you talk to yourself matters so much, because the more you say it to yourself, the more you endorse it. And if what you're saying to yourself is negative, like, this isn't working.
You're going to manifest a bad, negative vibe. Guess what? It's going to come in your way.
Well, we definitely need to do a podcast around mindset, and that could last about 3 hours or more. But let's obviously get back to the subject matter in hand around the 3 L's. How long should somebody be spending lead generating, would you say, daily?
How many hours do they work in a day? 9?
Yeah.
10? A minimum of 30%. Depends on the market. Depends how busy they are, right? We have to factor that in, right? So it's very easy to turn around looking down and saying, not that I look down, but someone else looking down and going, oh, you should be doing 3-4 hours a day. It's like, okay, well, is that actually possible? Number one, how many hours do I work a day? So I do it in percentages more than anything else. But I think you'd be doing a minimum of 30, maybe up to 40% in a tough market. The more you do, the more you'll get. But I would say that level is minimum. And people turn around and say, well, I haven't got the time to do that. It's like, I think you have. What you might need to do is leverage some of this stuff out.
And structure your day
and
better.
Structure your business. Use different tools, all the stuff we're going to talk about on leverage.
Yeah.
It can be done. And what I would say is, and I think a lot of people delay putting leverage into their business. I think the day that you can't or consistently start doing 3 hours a day or 30%, whatever, is the day you start thinking about leverage.
Absolutely.
And that's what people don't do. They just go, I'm really happy, I'm really busy because I've got X under offer, or I've got X listings coming onto the market, and then they stop doing the lead gen because they're doing sales progression and all kinds of different stuff. And then they feel good because the money's getting closer.
Yeah.
Which is good for the motivation, good for the mindset. But the problem is, what you're going to do is create a roller coaster of being an estate agent. And the roller coaster of going, everything's looking really good and you're really high, and all of a sudden you get your completions through and your listings have dropped off, and your listings have dropped off because you didn't lead generate 90 days ago, and now you're 90 days in and you're like, oh bugger, I've got a problem. I'm now going to have to dive in and do my lead generation, which is what creates the roller coaster up and down that most agents go through. And the way you stop that and you just grow nice and slowly rather than the up and down is by protecting the lead generation time.
Yeah,
and that's what people don't do.
No, well, as Gary Keller makes very, very clear, and I've heard him say it multiple times now because sometimes we need to keep hearing it, is that the best structure for any agent's day would be lead generation in the morning, service in the afternoon. At least 4 times a week. So Friday might be completion days, you've got other things that you need to really focus on, but at least 3 times a week you should do 3 to 4 hours of lead generation in the morning, because that's when your motivation is usually at its highest, and it should be lead gen in the morning, service in the afternoon. And by service, they mean you go out and do your market appraisals in the afternoon. If somebody says to you, could you come around and see me at 11 o'clock on Wednesday, then the best answer for you, or for them, is to say, I'm terribly sorry, I've got another commitment at that time, but I'm happy to come around at 12:30. Would that be okay for you? Protect that time like your life depends on it, because it does. If you allow people to keep jumping into your time that you've set aside for lead generation, you're going to be, by the time you get back from that, you've written up your notes, you've sent the contract out to them or whatever it is, guess what? You've just lost another day of lead generation. So just protect that time like your life depends on it.
Yeah. So I think if you use it as a marker, 30%, right, because you might only be working for 5 hours. So 1.5. Is that right?
I think so. I don't think
once
it is.
You can I didn't even I just said it without thinking.
Yeah.
Once you consistently say, after 1 or 2, 3 days max, you turn around and go, I've only done an hour today or none, and that's been 3 days on the trot, you need leverage. That is the signal, and you have to act. If you don't act, you are going to go on a reasonable ride right now, and there's going to be a real bump in the road, whether it's in 30, 60, 90, 120 days.
So moving on to the second of the L's then, listings. Might sound like a silly question, but I don't know that it is. I'd be interested to hear what you think. But why are listings so important?
That's a silly question.
Is it?
Well,
though?
you can't get any income without a listing.
No, but also, doesn't it also, like, run the boards breed boards? We hear all that sort of type of thing as well, don't we? You can build off the back of a listing via your marketing as well. Again, not the willy waving stuff where, we've got a property on your street, all of that. But you can use it at, listings is another form of lead generation, because you can do a great open house and you can have all your banners, and there's just so many things that you can do just with one listing, right?
Yeah, it's massive. It's like that. Obviously, it's part of the podcast that I thought we would even talk about because of why it's so important.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, it obviously is. What I would say though is, just to balance it, is that you can have good listings and bad listings, just like you can have good agents and bad agents, and you can have a bad listing, and you shouldn't have it. You could have an unmotivated seller that's just going to give you problems. You could have the wrong type of character that's a seller that's just going to give you problems and is just going to drain you mindset-wise and drain you time-wise and all these different things. And sometimes you don't know until you've got it.
Know when to cut it off, though.
My personal feeling is that a good agent knows when to cut it off, and a good agent will politely decline the listing and hand it back to the client, even if it's before the end of the contract. And look, for experience, you get to know that. So listings are incredibly important. What I would say is it's got to be the right listing. It's there's no point in having a listing when you can't sell it. No. There's no point in having a listing when you're not getting price reductions. There's no point in having a listing when you're advertising the fact that it's overpriced, because other clients in your area are just going to turn around and go, have you seen a house on the market?
Mm.
They're never getting that.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that agent.
No.
You want to be the agent when they go, oh, we've seen a house come on the market, that's going to sell.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish we could buy that right now.
Mm.
That's the listing you want. That's the agent you want to become.
Mm.
Rather than just saying, hey, I've got a listing, it's amazing. You get all excited about taking a listing on. It's like, yeah, I know, but you're never going to sell that.
Mm.
So I do think there's good and bad listings, but obviously listings breed so much opportunity around referrals and everything else. But you've got to, end of the day, you've got to sell the listing.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a, something that I think, well, we've spoken about it multiple times over the years, but I really would love for you to voice it and explain it as well, because there's a direct correlation between lead volume and listing appointments, right? There's no getting away from that. So explain it in your words, like what that relationship is between the lead volume and the listing appointments, because you should know that number, shouldn't you, if you're
well,
tracking
it forms
your
again,
numbers.
I've kind of covered it off a little bit. We've already talked about the lead pipeline as to as to how important it is, because you should be able to predict if I have X amount of leads in a particular month or over the year, I'm going to create X amount of listing appointments, stroke appraisals, whatever terminology that you kind of use. So there is it just gives you the numbers again. It's like if you don't know the numbers, how can you improve? So if you've done X amount of leads, but you only create X amount of appointments, how can I impact that? Does that mean I've got the wrong leads going in? Does that mean I'm not communicating with the leads correctly? Does that mean my language isn't right in terms of the leads, into turning those into listing opportunities? Because even if that person isn't looking to sell, they're going to know people that probably are. So you should be working on your language to kind of get to a point where you understand what that lead to appointment ratio is, track it, understand it, and improve it. Every business should be looking to improve every single part of its business all the time. And you only know that for understanding the numbers.
Yeah, well, look, let's move on to the leverage piece. So I guess, first of all, what does leverage actually mean?
What does leverage mean? I mean, it's pretty simple. Leverage just basically means that you're beginning to hand over a task that you used to do that was blocking you from doing your lead generation and growing your business for an agent. And then there's many forms of what leverage is and how the agent can speed up their business and give them more freedom and give them more choice. And if you don't look at that, then at some stage you're going to lose the personal business balance. You know, we say counterbalance because it's never truly a balance. It doesn't work that way, and sometimes you've got a big issue inside your personal life, which means you've got to go more towards that.
Swing,
and in other times it moves the other way. We've definitely seen from some of our agents that they tend to, when they get really successful, they go too far in the business side of it, and they have to counterbalance back out the other way. So I think that's really important. And again, who are you leaning on to bring you back?
Yeah.
Where you've lost a little bit of focus and what's really important to you, which is so easy to do.
And who are you bouncing those ideas off? Who's helping you know when it's time to bring in that leverage, and what's the best bit of leverage first, right? And every single agent we've ever spoken to that's gone on to do like really amazing things always say, I wish I'd leveraged earlier.
I'll ask you a question, because you coach more agents than me one-to-one. So what's the first bit of advice that you give when it comes to them saying, I think I need more leverage? It should be, you should know that because of the 30% marker. Right?
Yeah.
And some agents won't be doing that. But when they're in that place, how do you start? So I'm an agent now, and I say, Claire, I really need some leverage now. I'm working 15-hour days.
Yeah, I think my answer to you might be surprising. You start with your life rather than your business.
Yeah.
So funnily enough, I had a message through from one of our agents, Michelle Vinci, and she messaged me late last night, and she just said, I've just organised a cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a no-brainer. It's 20 quid an hour. Like I could be bringing more houses on. I could be doing more lead generation in that hour. If I do an hour of lead generation, what leads could it develop for me? What listings could it bring? How many houses could I sell? When instead I'm spending hours and hours on a weekend trying to catch up with myself. So my first thing would be, well, look at where you're spending your time outside of work first. Dog walker. That's brought you back a couple of hours on the week. Unless you love doing these things. Obviously, if it's good for you to get out in the fresh air and go for a walk, then absolutely keep that going. But if there are some things in your life that you do where you go, oh, God, I've got to go and do that thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that love cleaning. I don't at all. You know, I love what it looks like when it's just finished. I don't need to be the person doing it. I just don't. So I'd rather pay somebody else to do that. Ironing, whatever it is. I know Michael Bailey had his bushes trimmed by somebody else. And yeah, I know. That was said once on stage as well. But
yes,
yeah.
I remember.
Just sort your own mind out with
and
that
I really
one.
done everything in my power to not smile then.
But he did. Somebody else trims his bushes.
No, I get it.
I
get it. I'm going to move you on because it could go dangerously wrong.
Go down the wrong road. But point being, you start in your life
and
you leverage the things that take up your time so that you can spend more time on the business.
Yeah.
And then after that, absolutely, we're looking at, right, well, what tools are you using right now? How are you structuring your day? Obviously, we do a GPS and a 411 with them the minute they join us. So they should be working to a really structured plan anyway. Mm-hmm. But as you say, once there just isn't a time left for that lead gen anymore because there's too many things going on. Then again, systems, automation, what's nurture look like? What workflows have we got in place? What could be leveraged using AI? So we would have done all of that. And then we get to a place where we go, right, apps, I'm utilising every tool known to man. The system is working, absolutely perfectly. I absolutely need a human being now. And again, it's a discussion around, is that a virtual assistant? We've got obviously sales progression in-house for our agents, so that's usually the first thing that goes, well, they should be doing that from day one, really, and then obviously they've got even more time. But if they are holding on to the sales progression themselves, then get rid of that, as long as it's a team that you can trust to do that for you. So, let's get rid of that.
And a lot of agents, and there'll be agents that maybe are listening to this and going, no, I disagree. It's like, okay, that's fine. But a lot of agents hold on to doing all the viewings themselves, right? Mm-hmm. And I get and understand that it's an important part of it because they're buying into you. I get that. And you do that for as long as you can. But we have seen success stories where agents can begin to leverage some of that off, particularly with maybe certain types of houses and things like that. And that can work quite well because obviously that can consume an agent, right? I mean, if you're doing really well and you've got X amount of listings on the market, you get to the weekend, you're like, I'm literally working all day Saturday and all day Sunday because I'm just doing all my viewings. Yeah. So that's a balance. So I understand both sides of it where you want to try and do everything yourself and maybe you stop doing as many listings then, doing less listings. Bring in
an agent, share the listings instead.
Yes. Or you charge higher fees because I am going to do it all.
Yeah.
You get me, like, literally you're going to get me throughout this whole process, which means my fees are higher than going with a high street agent that will probably be sending around a pretty inexperienced person to do them for you or whatever. So I think there's different ways of leverage. I think that for some agents, you've got to make a decision on that. But I think leveraging some form of the viewing arrangements and viewing, actually showing around the property is something to consider as well.
I mean, for me, it's open houses all the way. I mean, that's better for the client anyway. They've got to keep the house nice and tidy just once. Yeah. You do back-to-back viewings every 10, 15 minutes so that the person going in sees someone waiting outside. When you come out, someone else is there as well. It's everybody in that open house or block viewing scenario is playing a part anyway. There might only be one person that falls in love with it, but what you've done is positioned it in a way where they believe that there's so much interest in this, we've got to come in at our highest bid here, and that's a win for the client. So it works for everybody. It's not a case of I'm going to do this block viewing because it's better for me. No, it's better for everybody that way. So if people aren't operating that way, I would be. It makes no sense to me I'll go and do a viewing at that place at 11, I'm back there again at 1, and then I've got another one tomorrow at 11 o'clock. You're going to be here, there and everywhere. You're just a busy fool. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I think that the one thing I love about, well, there's loads of things I love about personal agency, but one of the things that I really love is how motivated and how sincere the agent and how much importance they put on the service level.
Yeah.
Because it's their business, right? It's them as individuals, and so it's just a knock-on effect. That model will always attract that, and always make sure that service level is going to be protected. And I think what leverage allows you to do, and certainly depends on the level of leverage that you've got inside the business, but to become a true business owner, a massive part of leverage is being able to work on the business rather than in it all the time, and documenting what your processes are, what the systems are, so that anyone that comes into the business delivers the service in exactly the way that you want.
Yeah, so
and therefore you have a baseline foundation to the business, a bit like an operation manual really. This is what we say when someone calls. This is what we do when we first meet them. This is how we interact with them, etc., etc., etc. And that's when you start thinking like a true business owner. And I think that that leverage piece is absolutely vital, because now you are. It doesn't have to be that you're bringing on loads and loads of people, but just one person needs to be directed in the way that you want it to be inside your own business.
Yeah, because it doesn't have to be Mark Reddings that does everything.
No.
But it does have to be done to Mark Redding standards.
Yep.
And that's what a systemised process that the next agent that comes in can follow should put your mind at ease that, well, and again, as you say, a lot of people don't want to bring in another agent just because, well, they're not going to do it as good as me. You know, they're not going to care about it as much as me. Well, they will if they're self-employed themselves as well, and their livelihood depends on it. They're piggybacking, if you like, off the back of the brand.
It's finding that time, isn't it, to be able to document it.
Yeah.
To be able to digitalise the business in terms of tools and systems. That's hugely important.
And that's leverage.
And that's leverage, and that's one of the things that we work on a lot. And everyone's in a different place. Like we can go and see one person and they're not quite ready. So how you're advising someone is different, like today. But knowing in 90 days to 6 months' time, they're going to be ready for phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, 6, all the way up to as many phases that they want to create for themselves in terms of the size of the business.
Exactly. Well, I think that's a good summary of the 3 L's. I think probably a good question for anybody that's listening to this, maybe picked up on a few things that have been said today, is, maybe a question is, of the 3 L's we've spoken about today, leads, listings, leverage, which one is limiting your growth right now in your business? And if you fixed that one thing, because very few people are awesome at all of it, but if you fixed that one thing over the next 90 days, if you set yourself a plan to do that, then what could your business look like a year from now?
Exactly. It will, again, we said it on the last podcast, I'd say it can at least double.
Absolutely. Right, see you on the next one.
Okay.